Well, we did the math, we crunched the numbers, and we found out the best show of 2023. And I know what you're asking. Why did it take so long? Well, that's because Frieren, Beyond Journey's End, the first episode is 2 hours long. I kid you not. This thing is literally a 4 episode epic. Just episode one, literally, they dropped 4 episodes on us in the beginning of the show, and it was like, yeah, that's our prologue. Here you go. And I feel like if you know me and you know how I feel about Mushoku Tensei, and you know how I feel about long form, rich, cultured, deep worlds, and you know that that is some Kino stuff right there. I tell you what, this show right here, Frieren, I can't even, to cover 5 episodes of content in 2 weeks, like 2 episodes, like it's so crazy to me that 4 episodes dropped last week. So there's no way I'm definitely gonna get through every single little detail that went on. But I will be getting into spoilers for the first 2 episodes, so we'll just go over a brief overview of the very first episode, and that'll set up what the rest of the season is, because this is not an action show. This is not a boom, bang, bang, plot event show. No. Decades will fly past you in this show and you won't even realize it. And that's kind of the main quandary that our main character has, Frieren the elf girl. Her story, as far as we know, it's the beginning of her new life, was the day she defeated the Demon King. Every single fantasy story has their little Demon King arc where whatever happens and all the heroes band together and they destroyed the Demon King. Let's go. But this takes it to a whole other level, because after, there is a time of peace. They do end up at peace with each other. And she's like, I will see you guys. We had a lot of adventures. I got nibbled, and, shout out to the animators for making sure they include a scene like this in almost every episode, y'all. They really want you to know about this part of the show. And I honestly think this is a very important part of the character too. So we'll talk more on that later. But this is a party of people. They spent at least like 10 years traveling together. And her being an elf, elves age a bit differently compared to everyone, as every single fantasy trope knows. What am I saying? Oh my god. Elves and dwarves, they age a little faster. So to these guys, to the humans, 10 years is could be like a fifth of your life, depending on what area you live in. So for her, this is just like being alive thousands of years. This is like 1/100th of a life for her. 10 years. And these people, meanwhile, will probably never forget this journey that they went on. And she is not apathetic to it, but also just kind of like indifferent. The time passes differently for her as an elf, so it doesn't have the same meaning as things would to her. And so as this first episode, concludes, goes through and progresses, we see the passage of time. Literally years, decades and decades have passed before she even makes one visit back to the city, And it's not like she's a bad person. She just is built different. She is on a different level. Her elfdom has required her to appreciate time in a different sort of sense. And so what was 50 years for her that flew by in an instant, meanwhile our beautiful hero Himmel, this old guy right here, do you remember him? You probably didn't, because we didn't get a chance to talk about him. He's one of the heroes. That's him right there with the blue hair. He was one of the heroes that she helped save the world with. There was Himmel. There was, I forget the corrupt priest's name, but I think it was like Heimdall. And then there was the dwarf, your standard fantasy party. But still, these guys really had a solid bond together. And we spend a lot of, not even just of the first episode, but of the first arc, exploring their bond via flashbacks and through other sorts of just interactions. Because some of them are still alive, as we see here. Himmel, the hero, is still alive. And then watching, the reason she comes back is because the day they killed the demon slayer, the Demon King, whatever, man. Y'all, there's so much happening in the show. It's just so deep. They see this meteor shower, and she's like, this only happens once every 50 years. I'll come back and see you. And the next time this happens. And so she comes back, and Heimdall, she takes him to see it, and they all go see the meteor shower together. and it's a beautiful ass thing. The beautiful little, like, it's a great moment because it honestly I teared up a little bit too because it was such it, you know, her coming back 50 years after not seeing them, and his entire life passing by him, just wondering like, will she ever come visit me? And then when he actually passes away, he does end up, you know, old age finally catches up to him. And Frieren, she doesn't really understand, like, she really has like no expression on her face too, and she doesn't even like, it doesn't even register fully that like she barely even knew this guy that she's literally saved the world with, and now he's dead, and it finally processes for her. And this is basically like the catalyst of this episode, is her sort of re-understanding and re-appreciating the time that she spends with other people. And I think that's a good like metaphor and encapsulation of what the series is trying to convey, you know, the message that the series wants to show you. Because later on, you know, she after learning her lesson, she comes back to see the corrupt priest a little, you know, before he actually like dies, and he's like, hey, you know, you were always kind of weird, but I found this girl, you know, she saved my life, I saved her life, so I was wondering if you could teach her. And she's like, nah, I don't want her to die. And he was like, all right, bet. Well, I have this book. I was wondering if you could translate the book for me. I'll let you stay here and stuff. She's like, well, I do love spells. Because her whole thing is, you know, the entire thing that she spent all those decades doing was just collecting spells. That's her thing, is Frieren. She collects spells. That's just her thing. That's what she does. It's her hobby. That's how she makes a living. And you know what? More power to you. But it's, don't let that be, don't let that, you know, take over seeing your friends and, you know, don't let your hobby take over your life, because she literally forgot about them for 50 years, man. Man's entire life just like passed by him. And so she just decided, you know, I'm gonna try to be a little nicer to my friends, and I am going to go and I'll translate this book for you. And you know, he's like, well, if you're not gonna train the girl, will you, you know, while you're at least here, will you train my student, my protege? And she's like, well, I guess so. She's like, but why do you want her trained like that, bro? This Legends Arceus music is so funny. Oh my god. Here we go. So yeah, she's like, hey, why don't you, he's like, hey, can you please, you know, just like tutor her while you're here decrypting this book? And this little girl is honestly hilarious. Her name is Fern, I think, or Felt or something. I think it's Fern. She's just like this. She's this adorable little child. I think she's like 9 years old, and so she's just watching She's just watching her. Apparently, her mana is really good, and she's literally just like, she's out here hanging out, trying to practice her magic. She's like, and the priest said, if I can hit that rock, then I can be a real wizard. And then we get the animation. She immediately just cocks black and just blasts it. She immediately, without hesitation. And that was just a funny scene for me. She's like, wow, you're pretty good. And this is like the start of the show. This is like the proper first episode ends, is the setup of her becoming the teacher of this new girl, Fern, I think her name is. I don't have the captions on because I'm trying a new setup, so you're gonna have to bear with me on this. But as we go through episode 2, and I think even 3 to a certain extent too, this is based more or less her training arc. And I really won't cover all this because, like I said, they gave us a lot of content. They gave us a lot to work with here. So we're really just going to speed through this stuff, because I really think if you guys got this far into the video, you should probably drop a like and then go watch the rest of this show, because this show is a banger. So definitely leave a like for this video if you made it to the 9-minute mark, because we got a couple more things to talk about before I want to wrap everything up. And, you know, we will kind of just skip over this origin story, though I will say, you know, he was on his last leg because of his alcoholism, the corrupt priest. It's a whole thing, right? And he meets this girl who loses her parents. And this was the start of their bond, too. This was his, you know, a big character moment for him, where he realized that there was more to, he couldn't really go to heaven being an alcoholic priest, basically. that's the blunt way to say it, you know? Drunks can't go to heaven, but thankfully he was able to kind of reform himself, giving himself something to live for. And as Fern gets older, she becomes a more adept mage. And, you know, I guess he actually passes in this episode. We won't talk too much about it, but that is the point of the show. I mean, the show is all about the passage of time, and now that she's got like a human character with her, the passage of time just is a lot more accentuated with her. We see, and I think what was episode 4. We'll skip to. I don't want to get into 3. It was one of my favorite episodes. It was about. No, sorry, I was episode 3. I liked episode 3. Episode 3 was really just them like in a town. So this is like a okay. Sorry, y'all. Someone started like doing a bunch of noise outside, and it's just throwing me off. And the music is going away. It's not helping. But you have to understand that there is so much going on in this show that you have to see it to believe it, folks. That's really all there is to it. Because when she arrives at this town, and it was, y'all, there's so many episodes. There's so much happening in this show. I'm just like going through the show. So basically, there is a town that she lives in, and she's like, I don't want to spend. They're trying to look for these flowers that used to grow there when she was younger, but she's like, they're not here anymore. I don't want to be here this entire time, because the girl is young, but she's like, we've been here like 6 months. That's almost a year to me. I'm almost like an entire year older. I only have so many years, and that kind of helps wake her up. Frieren up. I can't. There's just so much to go through, y'all. I've never had this problem before. Usually, if there's like a show that I can't keep up with, I just drop it. Like Helk, probably not. I can make any more videos about Helk. But this one right here, it is so good. It's too good, in fact, that I don't even know where to start. There's so much to like comb through. This is the episode I was talking about. It was episode 2, where she's with the there's squirrels, and they're looking for plants and their seeds, and it's a whole thing about the passage of time and how even when it may seem like you're like wasting your time, there are things along the journey. It's just a whole really great metaphor, y'all. There's just so much love in the series. So I will be keeping up with this show because there is a lot to talk about. And I really can't go and do a breakdown by breakdown of 5 episodes. I should have done it last week when there was 4. Now that there's 5, this episode won't get nearly as much love as it deserves. But it probably should. So now we're going to carve out the rest of this video to talk about this episode that just came out today. Because this is the one that I'm more focused on, with them starting their journey to the top of the continent to reach where it's like heaven, basically. There's a bunch of dead souls there. It's an important place to her mentor, Flam the Wizard, who wrote a lot of rumored books in this magical world. You guys, it's really not going to make sense until you caught up to this moment. So like, if you've seen the episodes and you made it to this point, then you know what I'm talking about. And if you haven't, then go watch the episode, because I can't stop to explain everything that happens. But they make it up there, and you know they're getting into their like city groove life. But then they end up, you know, they're walking through the bog. This is definitely like some light novel content that made it that just can kind of just breeze through, you know, just some stuff that happened along the way. They were faced with, you know, just some casual phantoms from the past, and they had to face people near and dear to themselves and kill them before they got killed by them. You know, standard fantasy side quest stuff. You know, there's a lot to this show, man. This show is very emotional, and it is very keen on honing in on that emotional sense of like character and growth and relationship. Characters and their relationships especially is at the core of this show. It is the center of what makes this show so special. It is the time that passes and how the relationship and like really getting to know someone, because that is like Frieren's big thing is I didn't get to know these people, and before they passed away, before I lost my time with them. So her kind of taking on Fern. And is it Fern or is it Felt, man? I really should know this. You know, we're 5 episodes deep into it, but you know, it causes her to kind of grow softer, and she's able to see people with a bit more empathy. I would say she's able to put herself in place of people, and so when she saw that the dwarf guys had an apprentice named Stark, who, you know, was kind of a coward but was very strong. You know, she goes and gives everyone the pushes they need to kind of slay this dragon that's been bothering the village. But really, it's mostly just about reconnecting. And even, yo, guys, how good is anime for you, really? Like, I mean, come on, it always looks so good. But really, it's about trying to get Stark. You know, the next generation. Frieren is kind of the holdover to the next generation, and you see this in the intro to the opening at the end of the OP when Frieren, when we see the two sides, you know, split down the middle, with the new generation of Stark and Fireren on one side, and Himmel and Heimdall and her thing on the right side, on the other side. And these guys are, and with the split in the middle. I always like this part of the opening because the image finally overlays with Frieren as a complete, like, he is the complete center. Frieren is the center, the bridge that gaps these two generations of young heroes. And I have a feeling that we're going to get even more people added onto the party as we go. But for now, we're going to have to, you know, get used to Stark, get him into the group, and get him into the gang of things. All in all, without going over every single conversation, I assume you guys can understand that I really like this show. This show has definitely captured me, and I was actively like checking each day, like, yo, when is the new episode coming out? When is the new episode coming out? Sorry I didn't make a video about this. I was really surprised to see that my Zom 100 video that I last did got like 2,000 views. So that's really good. I sometimes don't crack. I think it's my first one that cracked like 2,000. So honestly, shout out to you guys for appreciate if you guys like that video. I'm so sorry. Zom 100 is gone. You know, guys, you gotta leave a like for Zom 100 and leave a like for Frieren too. This is a good show. This is a good ass show. We're going to talk about more shows. We're going to talk about Jujutsu Kaisen. We're going to talk about a whole lot more on this channel. Don't worry. Just leave a like, leave a comment, and shout out to the guy who told me to watch this show. I'm going to leave a comment with your name in it to shout you out. And I'm definitely going to respond to your old comment because thank you for putting this show on my radar when you comment on my Mushoku Tensei video. So if you guys are into Mushoku Tensei and you haven't seen this show and you watch this video for some reason, guys, come on. Drop a like, go watch the show. Alright? Alright. Peace.